To get the most out of your Bhagavad Gita study, you should approach the Gita with Shraddha. Shraddha means an attitude of trust. Because a little trust is needed for us to start applying the principles taught by the Gita in our personal lives. And that application leads to experience. And that experience leads to more trust. And then the cycle continues. So to start this whole cycle, we need a small amount of trust to begin with. A reasonable amount of trust.
How do we judge trustworthiness of Bhagavad Gita? Well, for that matter, how do we judge the trustworthiness of anything or anyone?
And I think that judgment requires us to look at three things. Are they competent? Are they honest? Are they reliable? And if we find that a person is competent in the relevant matters and reliable and honest, we'll have a pretty good reason to trust them because they'll be trustworthy.
The same principles can be applied even to judge the trustworthiness of Bhagavad Gita. So, is the Bhagavad Gita competent? Well, yes. The very fact that it has been used as a self-help book for centuries shows how competent it is. But the most important thing here is to understand very clearly in which area you can trust the competence of Bhagavad Gita.
I might, for example, say that I certainly trust a certain elementary school teacher I know to teach the reception class to read, but no way to drive the school minibus. I might, after all, know that she wasn't a good driver. I might trust my most loquacious friend to keep a conversation going, but not to manage to he could keep a conversation going, but perhaps not to keep a secret. Simple.
The competence of Bhagavad Gita is in the field of transcendence. The Gita teaches us how to transcend the world while being a part of this world.
Param bhuyah pravakshami jnananam jnanamuttamam Yajñātvā munaya sarve param siddhi mito gata.
The field of transcendence has its own set of axioms, just as modern science has. Now, what's an axiom? An axiom, by definition, is a statement that is taken to be true, to serve as a premise or starting point for further reasoning and arguments. For example, there are axiomatic truths even in mathematics. You can't prove them, but you have to accept them in order to move ahead to higher levels of mathematics. Similarly, there are axioms in the Gita. The laws of karma, the concepts of the three gunas. You will have to accept these axioms to move ahead to higher levels of transcendence. And when you experience a transformation in your own life by moving to higher levels of transcendence, you kind of automatically find the proof of those axioms yourself. That's how it works.
The second criterion to judge trustworthiness is reliability. All right, something is competent, but can I rely on it? Will it work with me?
The association of people who practice Bhagavad Gita will help you understand that Bhagavad Gita is reliable. For example, in our ashram, it's right at the back. I live with people who have been practicing the principles of Bhagavad Gita for different durations of time. Some for a decade, some others for 2 decades, some even for 3 decades. So that kind of gives me an understanding of what I can expect by practicing the Gita in my own life. what transformation I can expect in my life by practicing the Gita for 2 decades, by practicing the Gita for 3 decades. You can see the Gita in action when you see people practicing Gita. But it is not that you have to live in an ashram to gain trust in the Gita. But it is important to be connected to people who are seriously putting the Gita in action in daily life. And it's also important to have the guidance of a guru who can help make the Gita relevant in your life.
The third criterion to judge trustworthiness is honesty. If one person who professes to be a follower of the Bhagavad Gita, or worse, professes to be a teacher of Bhagavad Gita, and he or she violates the principles of good behavior, honesty and integrity, it seriously breaks the trust of people in Bhagavad Gita.
As a teacher of the Bhagavad Gita, it's my responsibility to live a life of honesty and integrity. At the same time, as a seeker, it's important for you to be aware of how fragile your trust is when confronted by dishonest behavior.
Let's say you have 10 people and every morning they get $10. Every morning they get $10 and they can do one of 2 things. They can either keep the money for themselves or they can put the money into a central pot. Now if they put the money into a central pot, the money multiplies 5 times and then equally divided by everybody. Okay, so what happens? Day number 1, everybody wakes up, they get $10, everybody puts the money in a central pot, 10 people, $10, $100, the money is multiplied 5 times, in the evening, equally divided by everybody, everybody gets $50. Everybody's happy. But one day, one person decides not to put their money in. What happens? 9 people put $10 in, we have $90, multiply 5 times, $450, equally divided by everybody, everybody gets $45, but the person that betrayed the trust, the 0 person, also has their $10, so they have $55. So life goes on in a nice way for a while. Everybody contributes $10. At some point, one person betrays the social good. What do you think happens the next day? Nobody contributes anything. There are kind of 2 equilibria in this situation. We have an equilibrium where everybody contributes, but it's a very fragile equilibrium because the moment one person defects from the social good, everything collapses, nobody contributes anything. And it's non-symmetric because if you have a situation where nobody contributes anything, it's not as if one day one person contributes and quickly everybody starts contributing. No, once you get into this situation where nobody trusts anybody, life is really bad.
So be careful not to fall into the trap of losing trust altogether by seeing just a few dishonest practitioners or teachers of the Bhagavad Gita. Let's focus on the positive examples. There have been so many saints in history, and even today, there are so many who have lived and who are living an exemplary life of selfless service based on Bhagavad Gita. Mahatma Gandhi is one example that quickly comes to mind.
So yes, Bhagavad Gita is an absolutely brilliant literature that can completely transform our life, provided we approach it with an open mind and an ample amount of trust, sufficient for us to seriously start applying its teaching in our life. And once we start applying, it's self-propelling, because the results we gain will deepen our trust.
Trust gives us the strength and the determination to put these beautiful principles into our life. And from that, love is awakened. But as love is awakened, there's a deeper and deeper awakening of trust. And as that trust gets deeper, there's a deeper awakening of love. But some trust is preliminary, that love does exist within me. And there is a way that I can reconnect to it.